India and France have adopted a defence industrial roadmap to explore opportunities to co-design, co-develop and co-produce military equipment. Prime Minister Modi and Emmanuel Macron sealed a number of agreements in Jaipur, as the latter was in India as the chief guest for the Republic Day. And according to the joint statement, the two leaders identified opportunities to work together in the defence sector with a motive of not only fulfilling the defence needs of the Indian Armed Forces, but also of providing a viable and reliable source of defence supplies to other friendly nations. They welcomed the progress in the establishment of the maintenance, repair and overhaul for LEAP engines in India by Safran and the plans to add MRO for Rafale engines. A comprehensive helicopter partnership with a JV for IMRH engine between India's state-owned Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Safran, and the Scorpion submarines built in India, including, of course, the indigenization. India and France are collaborating on the fifth-generation fighter jet engine Shakti, which seeks to power the HAL advanced medium combat aircraft as well. Well, this partnership has come a long way. France perhaps could be overtaking Russia as our primary defense partner. We'll talk about these deals and, of course, the ripple effect that they will have when it comes to not only the political, the geopolitical, but the people-to-people connect that India has with France as well. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanha, former diplomat, joins me on the program. Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, former Chief Spokesperson of the Indian Air Force, is also with us on the program. Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran, former Indian Air Force and Global Strategic Defence Expert, joins us on the show as well. Last but not the least, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Global Strategic Defence Expert, with us on the program as well. General Dwivedi, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, it's been a few days of bonhomie, friendship, shaking hands, striking deals with the country of France. This is something which has been going on like ever and never before. But the fact of the matter is that this tie-up that we see with France, this connect that we see with France, is it predominantly based on these transactions that we are going to have with France, or do you think that the spillover effect that we have gotten to see in the past with countries like Russia and the United States is also something which will follow here? By the spillover effect, I mean, sir, the people-to-people connect, the cultural exchange, the empathy that both the countries need to show towards each other's plight and towards each other's challenges as well. And mind you, India has perhaps more challenges than France when it comes to defense needs.
Well, Vineet, I think you rightly brought out in your introduction that this visit is a defining visit because it's a visionary in its context and also in its practical application. And the visit has long-term implications, both geostrategic, geopolitical, and beyond, even when you address the domestic polity or the domestic issues. Now, coming specifically, this visit actually came as a coincidence when President Joe Biden expressed his inability to come on this occasion. But I think the payoffs have been phenomenal. First and foremost, when you look at this document, Defense Industrial Partnership Cooperation, it's a long-term perspective, and it addresses not only the land, but also the air, space, and marine issues. And secondly, it also looks at the larger canvas, means you are designing, you are developing, you are producing, means the complete cycle and the supply chain is also laden within this document. The second point is that a lot of things are coming without string attached, like Safran giving the TOT, transfer of technology, without any preconditions, and collaborating, not just only kind of helping us, but collaborating means that it is across the board. And the third important point which I want to address is that it is addressing our immediate needs. We are short of the minimal strength of the aircraft. We need Scorpion submarines. We need aircraft for our Vikrant. Now, all these also are in the pipeline, though they are not been inked, but they are in the pipeline. And more importantly, it rebalances our relationship as over dependency on Russia, or we are also now collaborating with America, I think it gives us a strategic autonomy that we can pick and choose what really suits us and what is best for the value for the money. And the last point is, as you rightly said, people to people, because this is very important. When you look at the relationship between the two countries, people have very important role to play. And here again, I think President Macron had assured our young people, young students, that he would like to have about 30,000 students in the near future, and also the visa, easing of the visas, and more health, and beyond that also space application in the civil domain. So overall, Vineet, if I sum it up, it was a very important visit. It has long-term connotation, it has geostrategic implications, and beyond that, it brings the bilateral relation on a new platform and gives India strategic autonomy in especially defense issues and defense production. Vineet.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Sajanhar, what is perhaps standing out here the most is the fact that both the leaders, both the countries understand that there is not only a market that perhaps would be trivializing the intent with which these MOUs have been signed, but there is also this grave need for this international balance to come about when it comes to defense equipment. And who better to understand that need? India, which is of course a de facto leader and a default leader of the global south, and France, which is of course a predominant player when it comes to global north. These two countries coming together and realizing that this imbalance which has been perhaps created by some of the countries like China needs to be taken on, and this is the right and opportune partnership and moment.
You're very right, Vineet. I think the world has realized that there is urgent need of rebalancing in global affairs, and this realization had come when we saw that just after COVID, there was this economic concentration in one particular geography, in one particular territory, and that concentration in that territory was being used to the detriment, to the disadvantage of the other countries. Now here we also see, as far as geopolitical rebalancing, that is also required. And I think it is, in addition to the introduction that you gave, and in addition to the excellent comments that were made by General Dwivedi, I think it is also in addition to the defense exchanges between the two countries, and there the fact that France has agreed to share its technology, the Safran technology with us. It speaks of a level of trust and confidence between the two countries, because no country will share its, cutting edge technology with another country unless there was total confidence and trust between the two countries. And here it also happens that even as far as global outlook is concerned, the outlook of both France and India is quite similar. It's quite if I could even use the word identical on many issues. One could of course say that as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned, France has a different point of view, India has a different point of view. But I think in essence, they are quite similar, because no country, in my view, tried as hard as France did before the war had started to ensure that the war does not take place. And India has also been, after the war began in September 22 itself, Prime Minister Modi had told President Putin that this is not an era of war and we should try to resolve it through diplomacy and dialogue. So I think the worldview of both the countries is quite similar. Both are very much wedded to the idea of strategic autonomy, Vineet. Although we recognize that France is a member of NATO, France is a member of G7, France is a member of the Western Alliance, and India is not a member of either of these or of any of the other alliances. But still, as far as the idea of strategic autonomy, that is not being a camp follower of any particular group or any particular country, that is the attitude of France, that is the attitude of India also. If you also look at the whole idea of the Indo-Pacific, France is about the only European country which has a resident territory status as far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned, both in the Indian Ocean, where it has the Reunion Islands, and also in the Pacific Ocean, where in the Micronesian and Polynesian group of islands, it has its own Caledonian Islands and others. Of course, in terms of its expanse and presence, it definitely is not as much as that of India in the Indian Ocean. But still, the interests are there, and both the countries can really work together very well to each other's mutual benefit and advantage. The last point I'll make is that the Indo-Pacific strategy that India has come up with and the Indo-Pacific strategy that France has come up with, there is a huge deal of similarity. In fact, congruence between the two of them. And I think that what India's position was that the Indo-Pacific starts from the eastern coast of Africa and from the Red Sea and the Straits of Bab el-Mandab. I think that has been proven correct. Initially, America was saying that, it should be from Bollywood to Hollywood, but we did not agree to that. And even the United States was compelled to agree to our definition that it is from the east coast of Africa to the west coast of America. So I think this has, as a result of the Houthi attacks and all, it has been proven to be right, and France is very much on board as far as these aspects are concerned. So I think there are, in addition to defense, in addition to people, what I would say, for your consideration and that of our viewers also, Vineet, is that on people to people, we need to work much more. I think in terms, if you look at it in terms of students that we have in the United States, compare it to the students that we have in France. Look at the people who are, our businessmen, are even as far as faculty, research, teachers, professors, engineers, doctors. If you look at it in terms of how they are available, present in USA or UK, the number in France is still leaves a lot to be desired. So I think there also, and although our business commercial transactions have been increasing, have been growing, but still they are nowhere near what we have with the United States or with the others. Last point is, as you mentioned, that France could emerge as a substitute for Russia as far as defense supplies are concerned. Currently, it is number 2. There is a huge difference, but I think as India diversifies, there is all the possibility that both France as well as the US can increase their defense and security engagement and partnership. I'm not saying it's a buyer-seller relationship, but much more than that, as has been explained by you and also by General Dwivedi. Thank you.
Absolutely. Stellar point, sir. Thank you for that. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, your take on this growing and blossoming friendship. Are there any takeaways that India needs to, in fact, confront France with? Like I always say, that the people-to-people connect. The commercial aspect of India and France definitely could grow leaps and bounds.
Vineet, I would, both my fellow co-panelists have covered adequately enough about the positives, the takeaways, how the relationship is growing and where it should go. I want to take these arguments to a different perspective of sorts. Having been part of the technology vision for India in 2047, we are drawing a different roadmap of sorts. And that comes from a different reality, which we as a nation today are completely overlooking. Last week, I was in Delhi in a global AI summit. I realized how shallow our vision is. We are simply not overlooking threats that come from this domain, and we are treating it as on technologies that we treated yesterday. The problem here is, one of the fundamental things that we need to understand when we are talking about signing on technologies like advanced robotics, AI, or autonomous vehicles and platforms that are associated with military is, you just simply cannot buy them even if it is from your elder brother or younger brother. Even within your own family, you can't trust an AI system to be brought from outside. If this country were to continue to pursue this policy, they will need to first amend if they can agree a French soldier to be part of the Indian armed forces, then by all means go and buy a French AI system. What they don't understand is these systems come with embedded zero-day vectors. And these vectors, there is no technology that will be available in the next 50 years to determine what will be the intent of an AI system. I raised this point to a senior defense official. He couldn't understand the difference between a self-intent and an instigated intent. The moment you're talking about any intelligence system, there are two components to it. Self-intent is your own moral. You can say that I'm not going to fight a war because your morality doesn't allow you to go. That is what is falling under the self-intent. But there is something called as an instigated intent. The instigated intent is because the developers, the hackers, the manipulators, the OEMs would know the exact functioning of how decision making happens in an intelligent system, which means at a given time of choosing, they can actually get a zero-day vector, a Trojan horse implanted into your weapon systems. You need to understand this. And we also need to understand in the next decade, the AI that we are going to talk is increasingly going to be cognitive in its nature. That means in the last decade, we talked about net centricity of warfare, which was what the Rafale aircrafts were good at. But the moment we are talking about an intelligence-enabled warfare regime, you're going to talk about every weapon interacting with each other on an intelligence platform, which is, greatly, vastly autonomous than what we know today. So this actually brings a different paradigm of sorts, which means that unless and until the countries like India, US, or the top powers will never buy weapons from anyone else. So let alone France replacing Russia or any other country for that matter, we today have to move to a regime of total indigenization of critical and even elementary weapon system. I don't think that we can buy a revolver in the next 5 years which has got some level of intelligence embedded in it. Because the problem is, as a country, we will never have the control. Because either you're not talking about true intelligence or you're talking about something else. If you're talking about AI-enabled weapon systems, you can't simply buy it. And that is something that we need to understand in our discourse and we need to implement in our policies. We can have friendship is okay. Friendship is okay, but in an intelligence-enabled warfare regime, in war, we don't trust anyone. And that's why we don't allow foreigners to be part of our, armed forces. Unless and until, even in a coalition, the forces fight under their own umbrella and generals. That is the reality of warfare for the last 2,000 years. It is going to be increasingly difficult in an intelligence-enabled regime. And I will request the officials at the Ministry of Defense, at the Defense Headquarters, to look at this very seriously. I've given 2-3 reports on this, but people don't seem to get it straight. They need to understand, the Battle of Troy, which is part of our history, will repeat itself in the AI in a very, very different form. Are we prepared for it? If we are going to overlook this continuously, what is going to happen is that we are going to compromise on our national security and sovereignty. That's all I've got to say.
All right, Jaldavedi, how do you respond to that? The indigenization bit is something that Commander Sudhakaran is very emotional about, and rightfully so. It is something that we've been trying to do for a very long time. Partnerships are okay. But this is an absolute aspect that the Prime Minister himself has been astutely passionate about.
Well, Vineet, I can give you the bifocal perspective because as an infantryman, special forces man, I am user of technology and also I am aware what technology is all about. You see, any weapon system has 3 basic components. One is the hardware. Well, second is AI, automation, and what software that you field in it. And thirdly, the human part, because human beings are ultimately to handle the weapons. And therefore, it has to be a combination of the 3 dimensions, the hardware, the software, AI, and the human component. I am sure that our developers are aware of the component of AI because I follow China very closely, having been defense attaché, commanded my forces. The Chinese defense doctrine is based on two basic pillars: intelligenzation and informalization. So intelligence has become very important component of the weapon system because cognitive intelligence, as Wing Commander brought out, is an important component. But at the same time, there is always a balance between the hardware, the AI, and the human element. Now, this has to be seen in the perspective. The second point is how much technology we are able to absorb, because after all, the human beings are going to handle it. Are we in the same league as the Western nation to absorb technology? Case in point, in 1965 war, Pakistan lost the war despite having F-16 and patent tanks, and what we had was the Nats and Hunters and Centurions. So therefore, the technology also has to be absorbed by the people on the ground. So therefore, I think Darkeji has made important point, but we need to understand that the weapon component is not only AI. Will be predominant, but is not going to replace everything, every human element. Therefore, it has to be a balance. Hardware, we are not able to produce. We are not able to produce a good rifle or even a machine carbine. So we have to take a quantum leap today, and we have to balance the modernization, our ability to handle technology, absorb technology, and then also indigenize where sensitivity is there, like cyber warfare. A lot of sensitivity is there. We got to indigenize. But at the same time, we don't have to reinvent the wheel because we are already lagging behind. We have to leapfrog, and we have to leapfrog from what is available. Like unlike Chinese, no one was giving them technology, they were stealing. But we have the advantage because we have a good will, we have a good image, we have good partnerships. So we need to leapfrog and then balance it out as to what is available, where we need to tweak in our own indigenization. But it has to be a long drawn roadmap. It cannot be day-to-day basis. It cannot be, unplanned. It has to be very well planned roadmap. And I think point made by Sudhakarji is well taken. But then we have to see how we put it or how we apply it in our perspective. Vinny.
Absolutely. Ambassador Sajjanhar, concluding thoughts from you, sir. We have run out of time. Rome wasn't built in a day, like the proverb goes. And, in the same breath, it's also important to understand that, the beginning of something cannot be the complete end of a system that existed before.
You're very right, Vineet, and I totally agree with what the other two panelists have said, that we need to, what we are required to do tomorrow, we should have done it 1 week ago. There has been a lot of slippages that have taken place, but, that has been evident, as you can see, in a large number of other areas also. Even when we talk in the area of infrastructure, border infrastructure, how that was neglected, and we are trying to catch up for time that has been lost in the past. I think we are making good progress, and we are tapping all our partners. It is France. We have just spoken about what are the possibilities as far as America is concerned. Of course, we'll also have to see, and I'm sure the people who are in power, who are in authority, who are making the policy, who are taking the decisions, they are certain as to how all these platforms are going to be able to interlink with each other and work together with each other, that they will not be in conflict, but they will be in consonance with each other. I'm sure that is being done. So I'm not an expert on that, but that is an area that I can think that will need very close attention. But the points that have been made about the utilization of AI, I think the whole gamut of what AI is, the potential and the possibilities are, even that is not very clear to us at the moment. So we need really to be right in the forefront of what is happening. And I think the government is quite conscious as far as this, conscientious as far as what needs to be done. So those who are aware, they need to keep a very close eye, a very close watch, like the other members of this panel, and keep on giving these suggestions also to the government where they are required. And I'm sure the government will give it due consideration, give all these aspects, all these suggestions and ideas due consideration and take them on board while devising its policies. But this is a good opportunity. As you said very rightly, we don't need to sort of, reinvent the wheel. We need to see and we need to take on from whatever are the facilities, whatever are the possibilities. We have seen whether it is GF 414 or Saffron technology that is being provided to us, see what is it that we can grant and build upon it and make ourselves both towards self-sufficiency, also towards export of our products, as we have now started exporting the BrahMos. So, other equipment also. Defense export is a very important element of our global trade policy.
All right. All right. So appreciate your comments and appreciate the time that our guests took to come to this show and share what they feel this strategic partnership is all about and where, in fact, it is headed.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.